Hey, storytellers and readers, welcome to another episode of I'll Read That, the show where your stories get heard. Whether you're an unpublished author, a self published independent, or just someone that wants to tell their story, this is your space to shine. In each episode, I'll be reading your submitted story and giving it a voice, a platform, and more importantly, as a writer, a chance to grow and develop. You're going to get feedback from other writers, readers, listeners, and just general creatives to help you sharpen your craft and take your storytelling to the next level. So, if you've been waiting for someone to say, "I'd read that," then you found your place. Submit your story, get heard, and let's grow together. Don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you got something worth sharing, you already know. So we are back into Thassodar Jax, Galactic Ranger, Part 8, Chapter 7, um, Section 22. Species Log, Human Jax Earth, 2010-12. Humans have a planet-wide concept in their various linguistics called sarcasm, wherein one says the opposite of what is intended, in order to accentuate the severity of the true meaning, or to mock the subject of the comment. This will be very difficult for visitors to identify, and may lead to some confusion if it happens. The use of sarcasm is often characterized by an odd inflection in the pronunciation of the words, but the obviousness of that inflection differs wildly. It is advised for newcomers to the species to avoid sarcasm until it is fully understood. Section 23. Valentina helped Thassodar to the garage, where he stumbled against the driver's side door while trying to open it. "You can't drive like this," she said, taking his arm around her shoulder again. "No, but I can't wait, wait. More people could go missing." Thassodar shook his head, annoyed at his inability to shake off the tranquilizer, though he knew it would fade within the hour. What had the crazy little human been thinking to shoot him with that? "Then I'll drive." She started ushering him to the passenger side of the car. "You can't drive." Thassodar struggled to come up with why she couldn't drive, but he couldn't figure it out. She just wasn't supposed to. "Pretty sure you drive this car just like any other car from Earth, based on what I saw earlier. So unless you want to sleep this off, I can drive. You just tell me where to go." She helped him into the seat and buckled him in. He batted her. "I'm not a child," he grumbled as she closed his door. Valentina went around to the other side and slid in. She started the engine and backed out of the garage. "Where are we going, Thassodar?" "Diplomath ship. I'll put it in the GPS, the G, the map." He leaned forward and activated the navigation system. After selecting the address, the map materialized, floating just above the dashboard, with a miniaturized version of their vehicle traveling in real time. "That's cute." Valentina smiled at the map and then at him. "We're going to get these guys. Don't worry." Worry? We? She shouldn't even be involved in this. She was too fragile, too weak, inexperienced, untrained, unprepared for what they were getting into. Then again, he thought, she had been helpful. She was still helping, in fact, driving while he was incapacitated. An incapacitation she had caused, he reminded himself. Finally, he shrugged and dropped the inner argument. She was here, she was helping, and maybe she wouldn't get herself killed in the process. He watched the Earth night glide by behind the glass of his vehicle. It was a beautiful world, and there was no way he was going to let growth ruin it. An hour later, Thassodar was feeling much better, and they were arriving at the shipyard. Valentina turned off the country highway into a short dirt drive up to a steel double-fence gate. Beside the gate was a large old wooden sign. "Galactic Quarry. Private property. No trespassing," Valentina read. "Thassodar, are you sure we're in the right place? This place doesn't even look like it's been open in years." "It's the right place. Roll down your window." Valentina rolled down her window. Beside the car was an old mailbox. Following his instruction, she pulled the flag down, and the front of the rusty mailbox slid to the side, revealing a shiny keypad with the galactic standard glyphs on it. "Enter this code. Nocti, Obok, Sinra, Sinra." Wait. I don't understand what you're saying. Are you speaking alien?" Thassodar sighed. She just doesn't know, he reminded himself. "It's galactic standard. Just press the center one, then the top right, second from the left twice." He finished guiding her through the keypad, and the old metal wire gates swung smoothly open. He never thought entering something as simple as a gate code could be so difficult for a human. They drove through the gates and heard Val- they drove through the gates and he heard Valentina gasp. He looked over at her and he couldn't help but smile at her expression. It's beautiful. He took another look through the windshield at the quarry and considered how it must look through her eyes. The heaps of rock and stone, the ancient oak trees that looked ready to fall, all faded away as they passed the obscuration line, revealing a handful of medium-sized starships and simple shuttlecraft. They were of various shapes and made from a variety of metals, many of which didn't exist on Earth. Their landing and guide lights gave a colorful illumination to the hidden shipyard. The nearest ship was spherical and as large as a small Earth house. It sat on three landing legs, with its elevator lowered. A member of the Seahuarv species, standing on the elevator pad, waved one of their long antennae at them, and Thassodar waved back. The elevator withdrew inside their ship. Beyond that were sleek, oblong ships with windows, a saucer-style ship with a wide balcony, and the upper doors open, letting the inhabitants enjoy the starshine of the night. Another one, parked near the human exhibit on PlaySpace, had angles like a fighting winged creature, rested with the rear of the ship back on the mechanical legs. Underneath it, a table had been set, and the occupants appeared to be hosting a child's life celebration. It was nice to see families coming to natural worlds for such events. He returned his gaze to his silent driver, who was soaking it all in as they cruised down the main path. Welcome to the galaxy, Valentina. So we're really not alone? He looked at her carefully before answering. You are not alone. Toward the back of the camping shipyard, just after a curve in the path, a dark shape came into view. It was pure black with no reflection, almost as if it were soaking up the surrounding light. The main body of the ship was octagonal, about 30 feet high. Behind that was a long cylinder that narrowed toward the end. At the top of the cylinder section, Thassodar could see the withdrawn wings that would emerge when flying through atmosphere. There it is. That's the ambassador's ship. That thing? The evil-looking dragonfly that's bigger than a house? Valentina pulled off the road beside the ship. Thassodar shrugged. I guess it does kind of look like an earth dragonfly. He got out and closed his door. The closing of the other door caught his attention. Valentina was walking toward the front of the Corvette. What are you doing? Aren't we going in? She turned to ask. No, we aren't. He moved to the front of the vehicle. You should stay in the vehicle. Why? I thought we settled this. I'm here to help. I want to find Jessica and the other people. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't even be here right now. Vassar looked up at the ship. This could be dangerous. Then you need my help. He looked back down at her. Her jaw, her jaw set, feet set shoulder width apart. Humans certainly had lots of life energy in them. All right, but if I say run, you get out of there as fast as you can, and don't stop until you're far away from all this. Deal? I'll think about it. He sighed. That was probably about as close as he would get to acquiescence from her. He started toward the ship and she followed. This is a galactic diplomat, so let me do the talking. Just keep your eyes open. He pressed the call pad on the door to the ship. After a moment, the door irised open like 8 curved blades sliding into the sides of the door. Instead, inside stood another Vendosian, same pallid skin and red eyes, but smaller than the ambassador, with wisps of wiry fur along the top of his head. He wore a simple dark-colored robe. What do you require? I'm Ranger Jax. I request to speak with the ambassador. The ambassador is quite busy and does not wish to be disturbed. He reached for the door controls. Wait, I need to see Visu right now. This is not a social call. This is an official visit from the ranger of this sanctuary. If you want to stay on this planet, let me inside. The Vendosian slowly returned his gaze to Thassodar and seemed to serenely consider the words. This is the ship of a Vendosian ambassador. We do not report to you. This is my planet, and you haven't submitted paperwork for approval to be here. So if you want to get into the legalities, you can do that, but either lead me to your boss or get out of my way. The Vendosian turned and glided down the hallway. Thassodar and Valentina followed. To her credit, he hadn't heard a single gasp from her. He glanced back to make sure she was doing all right. She was following at close distance, but her eyes were all over the ship as they walked. A moment later, their guide opened the door and stepped back. Inside was the ambassador's office. He will meet with you, Ranger. They stepped inside, and as soon as the door closed, Valentina let out a whoosh of air that she had apparently been holding since outside. Holy crap! I'm in a spaceship! This is a spaceship, right? This is so crazy! What are these walls made of? She continued to jabber as she moved to touch the walls, the chairs, the desk. What is this? She picked up a small clear globe from the ambassador's side of the desk that contained a constantly twisting light that shifted color every few seconds. Put that down, Ambassador hissed, and stop talking. You were doing great, just calm down. She set the globe back where she had picked it up. It's so pretty, though. Seriously, what is it? It's. Thassodar stepped toward the desk to be sure. That's life energy. Contained life energy. Why would the ambassador have a ball of life energy sitting right on his desk? And whose life had it been? The door hissed open and the ambassador stepped into view. He was holding a tablet. I am Ambassador Visu. I know who you are. And I know who you are, Ranger. I confess I'm having trouble with these customs. No matter. I understand you have come for our lapsed documentation. Ranger, here it is. He handed Thassodar the tablet. It was the visitation document filled out and signed. Thank you, Ambassador, but there's another situation I need to ask you some questions about. Very well, but I can afford you only a few moments as I have a meeting scheduled shortly. He strode to the other side of the desk and sat down. Thassodar hesitated, but Valentina sat, which left him standing awkwardly, so he took a seat as well. Visu seemed only to just then take notice of Valentina, and he looked her over without expression. Thassodar felt as if the man were judging a cut of meat. This is a human, is it not? It has very wide eyes. Yes, Ambassador, the matter I want to ask you about is a very serious nature. There are 4 fugitives that escaped the Jupiter prison recently. I have reason to believe they are on this planet. It is kind of you to warn us, the ambassador responded, still looking at Valentina with his dispassionate, analytical red eyes. I didn't come here to warn you, Thassodar exploded. I want to know if you brought them here. Visu turned his attention back to Thassodar. You believe they somehow stowed aboard my ship to travel here? I believe you brought them on your ship as crew members and have landed here to abduct humans. That is an inaccurate belief, Ranger. His red eyes glittered dangerously. It is very interesting timing, since they escaped prison just before you arrived and within 2 days of your arrival, attacked a human building full of people. I noticed that your paperwork claims yourself plus 5 crew members, but I've only seen one other person on this ship. So where are the missing 4, Ambassador? The ambassador reached across his desk and pressed a button. I do not have to answer your questions, Ranger, as I have diplomatic immunity from such accusations and requirements. Despite that status, I filled out your paperwork as you asked. You have come to my ship demanding my attention with neither invitation nor advance notice. Yet, I deign to meet with you for the sake of good relations. Accusing me of harboring fugitives and attacking the species on this planet, however, goes beyond my desire to be polite. The door of his office hissed open again, and 2 Vendosians entered, wearing shiny red chitin armor and carrying a long staff each. The pair marched to the desk and stood on either side of it, between the ambassador and his guests. Visu stood up. The door hissed again, and the Vendosian in the black robe entered, followed by 2 others, one wearing blue garb, the other in a dirty set of full body leathers, with dark oily smudges on his pallid skin. This, Ranger, is my full crew. These are my 2 personal guards, standard for diplomatic envoys. My personal assistant, Hade Benzo, answered the door, and behind him are pilot Kimney and ship engineer Arjax. Visu stood up behind the desk. Barco, Akon, show the ranger and his pet to the door. I have no more time for them. The 2 guards stepped forward and helped them out of their chairs. Before Thassodar had the chance to protest, Visu was leaving the office, followed by his other crew members. The guards walked them back to the door and not so gently nudged them outside. The door Iris closed behind them without another word. That went well, said Thassodar, employing the quirky human tactic of sarcasm, and headed back to his vehicle. I'm not your pet, Valentina spat as she followed him. Why didn't you fight? I thought you were some big shot ranger. Fight? 2 diplomatic guards? Let's assume for a moment that I won. Do you have any idea the trouble physically attacking a galactic diplomat would bring? And ignoring all of that, what would we do then? He denied any knowledge, he introduced us to his entire crew, and I don't think he's hiding 2,000 humans on that ship, do you? Well, no. She glanced back at the ship. But we have to do something. He's right. He didn't have to talk to us at all. He could have let us stand outside his door all night and day. They got back to the vehicle, this time with Valentina on the passenger side. There is no evidence he's involved. It was just a lead. Without evidence, his diplomatic status protects him. So we're back to square one? Not quite. Thassodar backed up and turned around to leave the shipyard. Thanks to you, we still have the truck logo to pursue. Valentina meets Lomax. Valentina stretched without opening her eyes. She didn't feel ready to be awake. The wild dream about aliens and Jessica being abducted was still fresh in her mind. She opened her eyes and sat up on a dark blue couch, covered in a blue plaid blanket. The pillowcase was electric blue. The entire room was blue. It hadn't been a dream at all. The clock on the wall read. She realized there was more than one time showing on the clock on the wall. It could be 10 o'clock or 4. Another said 6:30, and the topmost started with a 30. She shook her head. Whatever time it was too early for that. She pushed the blanket off and walked up the steps into the kitchen, which was, thankfully, much less blue. He has to have a coffee maker in here somewhere. The doorbell interrupted her search. It was an unexpectedly normal ding-dong. Thassodar passed her at the steps to the living room and opened the door. Lomax, this is a surprise. What are you doing here this morning? I enjoyed our lunch so much, I wanted to do it again, but this time I brought the food. Have you had pizza before? Valentina stepped down into the living room to see the doorway and the visitor. Standing in the door was a very large, round, bald man with a red handlebar mustache and a black goatee. His eyes were an iridescent, sparkling purple. He was carrying 4 pizza boxes and had something under his arm, but the two cups on the top of the stack of pizza boxes captured her attention. Is that coffee? She asked from over Thassodar's shoulder. Thassodar stepped sideways and the visitor leaned to the opposite side to see her as she joined them at the door. Jax, I didn't think you brought them home with you, the visitor said out of the corner of his mouth. She noticed now that she was closer. That his mouth was also quite large, even in proportion to the rest of his body. Yes, those are coffees, dear. I'm sorry. Had I known he had a visitor, I'd have brought more food. She can have my coffee, and I'm sure there will be enough food. I'm assuming one of those is for me. The odd man nodded and lowered the stack of pizzas for Valentina to pluck one of the cups of coffee from the top, which she sipped immediately, and then cradled in both hands. Thank you. I'm Valentina. My name's Lomax. It seems our friend has no manners. He didn't introduce us or invite me in. He winked at Valentina and she smiled back. Yes, of course. Sorry. Please come in, Lomax. Lomax came in and set the pizzas on the stone blue table in the living room. He looked at the array of screens still floating in the air with news reports, documents, and now an image search scanning sources for signs of the truck's logo. What are all these? Were you two working on something? There was attack on a theater. Her friend went missing in the process. Thassodar swept each screen back down into the laptop and moved it out of the way. I'm sorry to hear that, Lomax said to Valentina. I hope you find her. Shall we eat then? They spread out the pizzas on the table, and she took 2 slices from the basic pepperoni one that was apparently meant for Thassodar, who also took from that box. The other 3 were a startling array of toppings, from sardines and pineapples to blue cheese with salami and banana peppers. Valentina's eyes widened when she looked at the ingredients, and widened more when Lomax took a slice from each pie and took bites from each in turn with gusto. You must be really hungry. No, Lomax always eats like this. The variety of food in the galaxy is one of the universe's greatest gifts to my species, he laughed and took another bite. So Thassodar, is she another of your little playmates? No, I'm not. Valentina wanted to answer that fast. We're friends. Thassodar looked at her thoughtfully, but didn't object. I'm helping him with that case. Ah, a little human ranger in training, eh, Jax? Not exactly, Lomax. She's only human. Valentina wondered. Only human. What more was she? A freshman college student? Barely no major, but good grades in basics? Unemployed? She put in applications at some places, but she didn't know what she wanted to do with her life yet. I see. Well, I brought a real treat, Jax. Elysium choked. He patted the object beside him and he'd been carrying under his arm. Elyssie what? Valentina asked. Thassodar's orange eyes lit up, looking at the odd box. On Earth, I'd imagine you'd call it galactic warfare. We'll have to translate the cards for you, but you can play if you're interested. I don't know if we have time for a game, Lomax. We're still waiting for the logo to get a hit. We can play a little, can't we, Thassador? What logo? He spotted a logo on the truck they used. We spotted a logo on the truck they use. When they use it again, we'll know where they are. Did you now? Lomax cleared the pizza boxes off onto the floor and set the box in the center of the table. It was a hexagon about a foot across. He pulled the top off to reveal 2 stacks of shiny cards, some marked cubes, and a variety of markers and figurines. Well, good luck on that. Have you played before? Lomax, where would she have played Galactic Warfare? You know I don't have a set. I meant, has she played games before? She is human, as you pointed out. They both looked at her. Yes, I've played games before. You mean like board games, right? This looks like a board game of some kind. Thassador pulled the dice from the board while Lomax unpacked the cards and figures. He set the dice in front of Valentina. He rolled the dice to specific sides and pointed at each one in turn. 1 dot means 1, 2 dots means you rolled a 2. I know how to read dice, Thassador. I'm not stupid. Of course not. She picked up the fourth die and felt very stupid. The sides were not marked with dots or numbers, but strange symbols like the ones on the shipyard. Are these numbers? No, those are professions, rather like positions you can play. It's called the Mercenaries die. He pointed at each side and named them. This one is the weapons expert. This is the engineer. This is the medic. Like I said, we'll translate and teach you how to play. It's a fun game. I'm up for it. She set the mercenaries die back on the table and watched as Lomax pulled the next level out of the box. He set a metal hexagon on the table. It had a blue circle etched into the center and yellow boxes radiating out from it. He pulled more of the metal hexagons from the box and began to lay them face down on the table, each one touching the edge of another. Thassador took a stack and did the same, handing a few to Valentina. She counted 19 of them in all. The hexagons represent the ships we're scavenging. It's called the Juggernaut. It was the flagship of the Alliance a long time ago. They were enemies to the Galactic Council. We play a team of mercenaries who have boarded the Juggernaut. We have only 3 hours to get in, get what we can, and get out. I'll be the timekeeper, said Lomax, pulling a small flat gadget from the box. It had 6 blank squares marked on it. When all 6 squares go red, we're either gone or dead. Sounds fun. Let's play. Valentina rolled the mercenaries die and was assigned the role of engineer. The other 2 rolled and the game began. As a player reached the edge of the hexagons, they flipped the next one over to reveal the next section of the ship, making the game board a random, obscured map. She was having more fun than she'd expected, even though Thassador had to read all the cards to her. So, how do you 2 know each other? Valentina asked and flipped over the next hexagon plate. We met when he arrived on Earth. Lomax tried to put an all-you-can-eat buffet out of business. Thassador rolled against one of the alien enemies that had popped up in the chamber on the board. I was following the rules, he roared with laughter. Valentina liked the way he laughed. He laughed the same way he ate, with total abandon and appreciation. How about I tell her about the first day on the job, Jax? I'd rather you didn't. I want to hear it. He tried to arrest the Blue Man Group for being on planet without a disguise or documentation. Lomax laughed again, and Thassador shook his head, pretending to focus on the card he'd just drawn. Valentina laughed with Lomax. As the counters turned from yellow to red, signaling the end of the game, Lomax kept pushing further out away from the center's hex's access point in search of more treasure. You'd better come back, Lomax. He's not going to make it. There's no time. In the end, Thassador was right. The 3rd hour closed with Lomax still 2 hexagon sections away from the safety of the center. He took it all in stride, laughing heartfully. You played well, Valentina. Thank you. This was fun. Lomax glanced at his watch. Shall we play another game? Give me a second chance? I think not this time. Once was enough and we should really be getting back to work, Thassador replied. I wanted to remind you of the good times you're missing out on in space, but it seems you have a good thing here as well, my friend. Still trying to get me to take a vacation, Lomax? Absolutely! Without pleasure, what fun is the universe? He does have a point, Thassodar, put in Valentina. All work and no play isn't a good thing. Now don't you start. Valentina put up her hands with an innocent grin and pantomimed, locking her mouth with a key. Once Lomax had left, Thassodar pulled out the laptop and threw the screens back into the air. One of them was flashing red. What is that? She asked. The computer found the logo. All right. And that is the end of that section. Um, this is my only critique I'm gonna say on this section, and just because I'm really into the story, plot development, storyline of what's going on. Um, Even though I love the interactions between Lomax and Thassodar and Valentina, I'm really happy that finally we understand how old Valentina is in this section. But there was that part that I feel is very unnecessary to the development of this story. Please agree or disagree with me all you want. Um, talking about a college student not having a job and all that, it really doesn't track as far as developmental um, story. Also, the board game that they play, I didn't love it. I didn't need it. It wasn't necessary. Again, purely my critique. You don't have to agree with it at all. Um, but I want you guys to hear it at least from my my mouth first, and then understand the story development of what's going on. So if you have any comments or suggestions or critique, please leave them in the comments below. And if you have a story that you want read, I want to read it. Please send me your unpublished, your self-published, your poems, your short stories, your novels, your novellas, to the email address in the description below, and you might be the next featured author in an episode of I'll Read That. Help me build this community where we support each other, writers supporting writers, readers supporting writers, new authors getting out there and helping new authors, and giving every story an opportunity to be heard. Don't forget, it doesn't cost you a cent. Like, subscribe, drop a comment in. Your feedback could really help another writer develop and grow their craft. So until next time, keep writing, and remember, I'll read that.